we were talking about the wall and talking about how it's served its purpose, right? Like it was created out of a need to survive. But when you don't need it to survive anymore, it blocks out all of the good. It blocks out any joy coming into me. And that was the moment that I broke.
Welcome to Courageous Conversations with Lionheart Coaching Co. I'm your host, Mabie Woodard, and my goal with this podcast is to empower you to own your story and to live courageously in your relationships, with your goals, and any adventures you might go on, and especially in your healing and self-discovery journey. I want to show you what's possible through what I teach and share and through the stories of others. All right, my friend, let's get started. Hello there. Thank you for joining me today. It is October 17th, 2023, and this is episode 42. And I'm pretty excited about this episode, to be honest with you. I had such a good conversation with Amber, and the conversation is literally the epitome of what this show means. It was incredibly courageous, the things that was shared and talked about. And I just hope that as you listen, you will hold space and honor her in this journey and her story and what she shares. A couple things I want to tell you before we jump in, though. Number one, I have a Reiki circle, October 29th. If you are local to me, send me a message, shoot me an email at hello@lionheartcoachingco.com, and I will send you the link for tickets. I'm super excited about it. It's on the full moon. It's, of course, right before Halloween, but it's going to be a good way for you to come together and relax, get some self-care, and then also just be in the energy of other people who are in that healing space. The next thing I want to share is I started a new Instagram account. Woo! Hold your applause, please. Yes, this makes 3. This makes 3 accounts, but let me tell you why. It's for a purpose. It's called The Heart of Marriage, and I really, really, really wanted a space where I could just share relationship stuff. So I have been sitting on this for way too long. Honestly, it's again ridiculous. I think I did that with this podcast, with coaching. Like, come on now. Like, I need to life coach myself a little bit sometimes. But also, sometimes it's just not time yet. We want to do things and we overthink it and we can't figure out why. And 9 times out of 10, it's because it's not clear yet. The whole picture isn't clear yet. And I know. Start messy, take action, I get that. I do. We don't have to have everything figured out before we begin. But there is a piece to it where you do have clarity and you do know, okay, yes, it's go time. And if you haven't felt that yet, you got to question yourself. You got to ask, is this because of a limiting belief or a block or something like that that's holding me back? Or is it just energetically, there's resistance there. It's just not time yet. And so I was really facing this. I've been wanting to do it for the last few months. Me and my husband have been talking about it for the last few months. And then finally this past weekend, it was like, okay, it's time. And the name came to me, and actually I had written it on a legal tablet, 3 years ago, because I started writing a book 3 years ago, of course, and then tucked it away. So I think that one has a couple more years before it needs to come to the surface. We'll see what happens there. But I hope you will go follow me on that account and check out the content that I'm putting out there. The goal is to help you have a more deeply connected relationship and how you guys can heal together. You and your partner can heal together. That's the big thing, because so often one does the healing work and the other doesn't. And then you're kind of just playing catch up. And that's okay too, by the way. I've been in that space too, personally, within my marriage, where one of us is learning and growing and the other is just kind of like, well, I don't know, just maybe stuck in our ways or our energy a little bit. And we have to kind of say, hey, to the other and get back walking together. Okay, let me go ahead and get you started with this episode. I do want to start by saying Amber, I have known her for a long time. I met her when I was pregnant with my oldest, actually. So 16 and a half years ago now, 17 years ago, actually. And I tell the story about that. So I'm not going to do a spoiler alert. I'll let you listen. But she is running for office locally. And this is not a political podcast. I'm going to say that right now. This is not a political podcast. But I do understand and see why her mission is so important. And it's all about being able to help kids and get the right stuff in place. So she's running for school board, and I wanted to be able to hear her for myself and just listen objectively. And I wanted to be able to let others witness that conversation as well. So I'm going to say this too. And I'm saying this as lovingly as I possibly can. If you are tuning in to listen to Amber's episode in an effort to find something to use against her, because we know how politics goes, just know, seek and you shall find. And if that's your mission, well, I would still listen because you might learn and shift your perspective. I don't know. But here's the thing. We are all human. We all make mistakes. We all learn. We all grow. And I would encourage anyone listening to remember that as we talk and she shares her story. Because my goal for this podcast is only ever to create a space that allows for intimacy and connection. And we get that through our stories that are told. So with that, I am just going to say, here is my courageous conversation with Amber Mabie. Okay, so I'm sitting here with Amber. Before we even jump in, because I feel like there's so much we can talk about, I would really love if you could just give us a quick, who is Amber? What do you do? How do you spend your days?
Amber is, I don't like the term just a mom, but Amber is a mom.
Mm-hmm.
Amber is a mom. Amber is a wife. Amber is an advocate, is a nerd. Amber likes to go out and dig up cool rocks. And Amber likes to research random things and go down a rabbit hole and just learn. Yeah, that's who I am.
And you sent me this thing last night, and you say Amber is just these things, but oh my gosh, is there so much more depth to who you are and how you got here.
Yeah.
And we talked about doing an episode together, and a couple things came to mind when because it was like a quick little message back and forth. And I have to tell you one of the stories that I remember, because we've known each other for a long time, but we haven't seen each other or talked to each other really in years.
Right.
But when I first met you, we were both pregnant at the same time. Mm-hmm. And what's funny about that is I was only 18 and unmarried. Yeah. And you were newlyweds? Were you newlyweds at that point?
No. We had been married for about 4 or 5 years. Yeah.
Okay. So you'd been married for a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
I was thinking about it this morning because I just remember how loving you were to me.
Mm.
Like, I thought about you and I thought about your heart and how, wow, that's really who she was at her core. Because I had a lot of insecurities, I guess would be the word, over being pregnant right out of high school, not married. There was so much judgment coming my way, and I felt it. I mean, really, I felt it. I had some woman come up to me at work in the mall and like literally put her hand on my hand and was like, honey, if you don't get married, your baby's going to be an abomination.
Oh my gosh.
So I was like,
Lord.
just carrying that.
Yeah.
And I remember how kind you were to me. And I'm sitting here thinking, we're pregnant at the same time. And you have done it right, quote unquote. And here I am fresh out of high school. And you could look at me like, what is this girl doing? And you didn't. You didn't look at me like that. You made me feel like, yeah, we're pregnant moms together.
Yeah, because we were.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I never forgot that. I never have forgotten that. And I do think about that. Whenever I think about you, I will think about that. How you treated me in that moment. And it's that heart. You have that heart. So you're running for school board.
Yes.
In our community. Well, not my community. Is it my community? Does it still count?
I think yes.
I grew up here. I work here, but
you have roots here.
I have roots here.
Yeah.
So you're running for school board in our community, and the question was like, hey, how can I get the word out? And of course, I'm going to say the podcast is the best way, I think. It's what I know I can do to help. Right. And that's what I thought about is your heart. And I'm so excited for you. And I would love to hear more about your story and how you got there. I know parts of it, but I don't know all of it. So last night you sent me this message with this beautiful speech in it. And you can see you've really come through some stuff.
Yeah. Growing up, so my birth father was an alcoholic. My birth mother was an alcoholic and drug addicted. And so, there was a lot of chaos. I had my grandparents and my stepmom were stable people in my life. So, I had those people, right? But then on the other side, I just had this constant churning of chaos and fear. And so it may sound weird to say, I've always in my heart and in my core felt that this may sound so weird, that I was different. Not that I'm different from you, but that I have something inside of me that makes me strong. Not stronger, but I don't know what the word is.
You have a resilience.
There is a built-in resilience.
Yeah.
And so I don't know where it comes from. Does it come from being the oldest child and the caretaker, the nurturer? Or was I born with that? I don't know where that comes from. But, you go through that and you wind up in foster care at 15, almost 16 years old. And your entire family is just torn apart because you told, right? And I don't know. It's an innate resilience that did God know that was coming for me? Did he give me that at birth because he knew that was coming for me? Or did I grow that resilience throughout the years? I don't know. But
it's such a question because I'll even point out the story of the twin brothers with the alcoholic father. One grows up to never touch a drop of alcohol. Why? Because he had an alcoholic father. The other grows up to become an alcoholic. Why? Because he had an alcoholic father.
Yeah.
The only difference between the two is the choices that were made.
Right.
And why one makes the choice over the other is what I am most fascinated with.
I think there's a gene as far as addiction. I think that you flip a switch.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that for my sister, so we grew up in the same home.
Yeah.
I think that she has the gene to, and if you flip that switch before your brain is fully developed,
yeah,
then you're down that path. That's not saying that you can't come back, but it is hard work.
It is hard work. I had one guest on the podcast who struggled with addiction for many years, and his term was, you're opening a door that you cannot close.
Yeah.
It feels like you just open this door, and to close it takes a lot of people helping you.
Yeah.
And supporting you.
Yeah. Yeah. So for whatever the reason, I did not, by the grace of God, become an addict or struggle with addiction, maybe like coffee.
Yeah, same.
but at the same time, I think we all have something,
yeah,
right?
Yeah. Our phones.
So where that manifests itself, right?
Yeah.
So my sister began to struggle with addiction. And I was always like the one to take care of everybody.
Yeah.
And to try to make sure everything was right. They also call that codependency. So,
Right.
I mean, right? Who knows?
Actually, you know what? I'd love to share this with you because there is a piece of that is codependency, but the goal is interdependence. So caring for others and also caring for yourself. Yeah. And if you lean too far on one side or the other, that's when it becomes unhealthy. But if you can find that balance, like strike that balance of we'll become codependent on caring for our kids too.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
So anyways, I just wanted to share that. It's interdependence. That is the goal.
Yeah. But I think first you have to realize that there is an enter.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
Because if you go through so much chaos and you learn to live in survival mode.
Yeah.
Like your brain literally does nothing else other than think that you're running from a saber-toothed tiger.
Right.
And so throughout your entire life until you realize like, oh my God, like there is something in me. And I can tell you. So you asked me the question last night, what was your bravest moment? And I thought. My bravest moment was surrender.
That's powerful.
Yeah.
Because it's hard.
It is the hardest thing that I've ever done in my entire life.
And at what point did you do that?
So I was 41 years old. 42, yeah. So it was after, like, right around COVID time.
Okay.
So we'll back up. The foster care thing, and then I got, older, and I found myself being, like, what I thought was just a fighter, right? So just at not even a moment's notice, I just had this, like, core of, like, well, I'm a survivor, like, and I had to kind of carry that with me. And everything that went wrong or any decision I made in my life was in survival mode. Mm-hmm. And so I look back over my life, until I decided to surrender, and all of the decisions that I made in fight mode and survival mode.
Yeah. Did you have like this massive awakening moment? Like, was it all at once?
Yeah. So COVID.
That's like a silver lining though.
It was. So like COVID was for us the great reset. Same. I swear.
Our house needed it.
Yeah.
I don't like how it happened.
No.
I don't like what happened within it.
No.
But it was a benefit for us too.
Yeah. And it wasn't pretty.
No.
But it was necessary. So when you're in survival mode all the time, like you need to be in control of things, right?
Right.
And so then COVID happened. And my oldest is working at Martin's, and they're not shut down. And then my husband is a state trooper, and he's around all the COVID people. And the police don't, so like world was going on. Meanwhile, I was at home hunkered down with the little ones, scared to death of everything, because I was just taking in this.
Yeah.
Yes. And so I remember like Lexi would come home and I would make her change her clothes outside.
Yeah.
And I would bleach the bags that she brought home food in. Derek pushed back a little bit more, so that was, rough. But he would take his shoes off outside. He would take his uniform, like, because I couldn't control what everything was going on outside. So, but I needed to control what was going on in my house.
And in all fairness, that's what
we were told to do.
What we were told to do. And also, when you don't know.
Yeah.
Like, we didn't know the extent.
No.
I have a lot of friends who worked in the ER, worked in the hospitals, and they too.
Yeah.
They had to do the same thing. They had to bag their clothes at the door. And
it was terrifying.
It was. We forget. But I could understand where it's like, okay, I can't control that you have to leave, but I can control this.
Yeah.
But that's exhausting.
It is exhausting. And so another thing in survival mode is like, it's mama bear heightened. Like,
Mhm.
I'm going to protect my brood. And like,
Right.
so I was in full fight or flight.
Right.
And what wound up happening is that my birth father reached out to me.
Oh.
I got an email.
Wow.
And that started the spiral.
Mm.
Well, COVID started the spiral. And then the email was a trigger.
Yeah.
What I know now are triggers. And then I was homeschooling 5 kids at a kitchen table. And nobody wanted to, none of our minds were into school. Like, we were
Right.
all scared to death, right?
Right.
And I have kids who are very active. Like, they don't want to sit down in front of a computer. So, yeah, I mean, I just found myself very out of control. And I couldn't control anything.
Yeah.
My dad, my birth father, contacted me. And so I spiraled very quickly. And it got to the point to where Derek and we separated.
Mm-hmm. And when you go through that awakening and your partner is unsure of what's happening and you're unsure of what's happening, everything just feels like a mess.
Yeah.
And even the mess on the counter then triggers a reaction. Like, that is hard to hold space for. Like, that's hard to hold a house up with.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the beauty of it is that you found each other again.
Yeah.
That you came back together.
Yeah.
So, because I can tell you right now, through my healing journey and the things that have triggered me, I definitely have lashed out at Richie and taken it out on Richie,
Mm-hmm.
and vice versa.
Right.
And every single time it's an opportunity for growth.
Yeah.
And we've been this close.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we've been together for 20 years.
Wow.
There's been plenty of opportunity where it's like,
Yeah.
I'm going to go see what's up over here because I need you out of my space.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
The love is there.
Yes.
But when life gets hectic, it is hard. And I don't think enough couples talk about how hard it is.
Mm-mm. No, I know they don't.
Yeah.
I know they don't.
I'm trying to. I'm trying to talk about how hard it is and how you can find your way back to each other. So you guys did find your way back to each other.
We did. I realized that I was not, I remember looking at my kids one day and I was kind of sitting on the couch and like, chaos in the house as with kids. And I remember looking at my kids and I thought, I just want to run away.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't want to be here.
Mm-hmm.
I want to go somewhere where it's quiet.
Mm-hmm. You probably really needed to.
Yeah.
We need that quiet.
But it was like I want to run away.
Yeah.
Which I know now is a response.
Yeah.
To a trigger. But in that moment, like, I knew, okay, I need to find a therapist. I need to find somebody to talk to. Because if I could look at my kids and say, I don't want to be here.
Mm-hmm.
And when I say I didn't want to be there, I don't even know if it was like I want to run away. It was like I wanted to not be here.
Mm.
Because I was failing them. Like, the mom guilt set in.
Yeah.
And I was failing them and trying to hold everything together. And thought in that moment, like, I'm messing them up. Like, I'm not good for them. Which is crazy to think, but that's how our minds, like, work. But yeah, so I scared myself enough to think I got to get some help. And so I found a therapist. And I started talking to her, and I still hadn't, like, I was like, okay, well, I'm going to do this just so it wasn't for me. It was for my kids, because I knew that if I wasn't here for my kids, then they would possibly live a life of trauma. Mm-hmm. And to feel the fight or flight and to live the things, right? And so her name was Erica. And so I started talking to Erica, and I was still, like, walled off, right? And just pissed off, really. Like, I was just mad.
Yeah.
And so that, the first few sessions were like, I was just pissed off. And there came a point where she said to me, we were talking about the wall and talking about how it's served its purpose, right? So, like, it's survival. Mm-hmm. It's there it was created out of a need to survive. But when you don't need it to survive anymore, it blocks out all of the good. It blocks out any joy coming into me. And that was the moment that I broke.
Wow.
When she said to me that I couldn't feel joy from my kids.
That is so powerful and gives me chills.
Yeah.
It's that armor we wear.
Yeah.
As that protection mechanism.
Yeah.
And taking it off, we don't always take it off when it's time to take it off. And I also just want to honor you in this space because I'm sure you know at this point you're not alone in being that mom that's sitting there like, I'm messing my kids up.
Yeah.
And you have that moment where it's like, they'd be better off if I just wasn't here.
Yep.
I have 1000% had that thought many times. I've said it to my husband.
Yeah.
I feel like you would do a better job just raising them without me. And he'd look at me like I'm crazy, but I genuinely would believe it in that moment.
Oh, yeah.
And gosh, how powerful it is to even share that because I know somebody listening is going to say they also feel that way. I know they are because it's so much more common than we realize. And so many of us have lived a life of trauma. Mm-hmm. The adverse childhood events scale, like check, 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 check.
Right.
And so then we become moms. And this healing stuff wasn't really talked about 16, 17 years ago when we were pregnant.
Right. None of it. No.
Not at all.
Nope.
In fact, I was told that I had IBS, not that I had anxiety when I was in high school. I was given multiple medications to help my stomach not hurt so I could eat, when really it was just stress and anxiety.
Isn't that crazy?
So life has just changed so much now. But to have that moment and to know, too, that our triggers are there to show us what we need to heal.
Yeah.
Like, there's so much purpose in those triggers, but they still feel like shit. They still hurt.
And very often they're hard to realize that they're a trigger because you immediately go into like, well, I'm running from a saber-toothed tiger.
Right.
So, I'm either going to stand toe-to-toe with the tiger and we're going to fight.
Yeah.
Or I'm going to find the closest way out. Or I'm going to freeze and hope to God that the tiger doesn't eat me.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, that's just what it is. Because that's biological.
Right.
Like, that's who we are in our core.
Innately, yeah. For sure. And so you've been on this healing journey, and I don't know, I commend you for it because it's not easy.
No. Derek would take the kids out of the house while I had my sessions, and, it is exhausting.
Yeah.
It is not pretty.
Yeah.
Like the anxiety leading up to the session.
Right.
And then after the session, I would feel like I had been hit by a bus.
Yeah.
Worse than any flu that I had ever had. Every muscle in my body hurt.
Yeah.
I would, it's crazy, when I would have my sessions with Erica, I would lose my voice. I would start like I would get a frog in my throat.
Yeah.
And I do that constantly.
So the energy healer in me is very much aware of what's happening there. That's your throat chakra. Yeah. And needing to speak your truth, needing to get it out. Yeah. And it feels hard. And that's what I was just explaining before we started recording, is what happens energetically finds its way to our physical body. And when we can't heal it, it does. It finds its way to our physical body. But also, I'm sure that was a physical response because of the tenseness, the clenching, and the not fully breathing into your belly, like all these things. And so, yeah, I could very much say the same for when I started seeing a therapist.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, I would come home and need to sleep because it was so draining. Yeah. So emotionally draining.
Yeah, I mean, Erica was, and I still touch base with her. I think everybody should go to therapy.
1000%.
Like, it's not.
Richie and I still go to therapy.
Yeah.
On occasion. And
for a date night, right?
Yeah. Yeah. It's just a casual date night. Like,
yeah.
I think I drive my husband nuts because I'm constantly like, let's heal.
Feelings, yeah.
Ooh, a new trauma. Let's talk about it. Or, a new trigger. But, Yeah, no, for sure. Like, we all need maintenance.
Early therapy. So Derek and I have done marriage therapy too. Early marriage therapy was, it's rough. And I think, like,
Yeah.
just like any relationship, we have good days, bad days, because we're each individuals
Right.
living our own individual lives, and then we come together and we're like,
Right.
it's not going to be copacetic. Like,
Yeah. And then kids and life and things. Yeah.
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 So early therapy was hard. And then there were sessions, just depending on what the day looked like for me.
Yeah.
And kind of what came up.
Right.
Because I didn't just jump into therapy and was like, all right, let's just talk about it all right now.
Right.
So it was a slow progression.
Right.
And I didn't have to get into every single detail, right?
Yeah.
But I learned so much.
Right.
About, oh my God, that makes so much sense. That's why I reacted to this situation. Like, we were able to pull apart situations that I reacted in a way that I truly in the moment thought that I reacted in a very justified way.
Yeah.
But then I would break those down with her, and she would help me understand, like, okay, well, think about that. Take a moment, and where in your body do you feel that?
Oh, I love that your
most?
therapist said that.
Oh, she is amazing. And so it's learning that, like, in that moment, I felt that in my body then. And then if I think about something that happened as a child,
Right.
or even happened, because all of us have trauma, like, it doesn't even have to be as a kid, but where can you correlate that feeling?
Yes.
Think about what other moment you felt that.
That is so perfect. And because I think that by and large, people are learning, we are all learning. And that's one of the biggest reasons I love to share this podcast, is because I want people to be able to hear it and have that moment of, oh, that's why.
Yeah.
And it's that entanglement.
Yes.
And we have these entanglements, we have these cords that attach from a situation, a place in time to us. Mm-hmm. And unless we can fully release that cord, fully cut that cord, and surrender,
right,
it follows us. It repeats itself until we figure it out. Like, oh, that's what's happening there.
Yeah.
My question always is, when something happens, is, and who did that remind you of?
Yeah.
And what is this situation mirroring?
Yeah.
Because it's trying to teach you something. And I have to tell myself this too, all the time, because I'll get caught up in my head a lot. And thank God for Richie, because I've said so much to him and he's done therapy with me. So he gets it on a level.
Amazing.
Yeah, it really is.
Yeah.
Because there's a time when it wasn't that way.
Right.
And it made it harder, but now he can kind of bring me back and remind me and help me kind of ground myself a little bit. But, I feel like this is a great time for us to talk about what happens when moms heal. Because we were talking before we started recording also about the unhealed version. I was sharing with you my motherhood journey and what it has looked like. And once I started healing, how different my kids are through that. And so I would love for you to share what that has been like for you.
Yeah. I mean, I think that saying to a child, I'm sorry I didn't always get that right.
Yeah.
Is so powerful.
I don't want to interrupt you, but I want you to know, like, I have to say this because I want a megaphone. I want to say this time and time again. A parent apologizing to their child and taking responsibility for making that mistake, for handling it wrong, is the single most powerful thing we could ever do for our kids.
I agree.
To say, I'm really sorry for that experience and not make an excuse.
Yeah.
I have told my kids, like, look, I really just parented you out of fear.
Yes.
And I'm really sorry.
Yeah.
I am. And I'm trying to fix it. Anyways, go on.
No,
proceed.
you're so right. It's the fear part. And it just gave me goosebumps because it's the smallest things, from like my kid wanting to climb a tree and I wouldn't let my kid climb a tree. Because
Same.
I'm terrified.
Yeah.
Because I cannot control
Yeah.
what's happening, right? But now I'm able to look at that and like do some self-talk and like Amber and say a prayer, by the way.
Right.
And I just say like so
Put
many
that
times,
hedge of protection around that baby.
these kids that God gave me, like I have prayed for patience way too much because he's like, well, I'm going to teach you some patience.
Right.
But yeah, it's just the smallest things of, you know, them wanting to do kid stuff and to explore their world that I, in that fear state of mothering, I couldn't let them do. Yeah. Because I had to control it. Because if they got hurt, then I would feel a whole bunch of scary things that I didn't know how to deal with.
Right.
So, you know, it's standing at the back door, at the glass door, and just watching my kid climb a tree and praying as that's happening, which sounds so ridiculous.
Absolutely not. I don't think it sounds ridiculous
but
at all.
But it's a self-talk of like, God, you've got this. 2 and 3.
Children 2 and 3 got to climb trees. Children number 1 did not get to climb trees.
Really?
Yeah, I did not. I couldn't do it.
Wow.
And then my number 3 broke her arm on monkey bars. Yeah. So it's like, you're not going to control it.
But she didn't, you know, like you lived through that, right? But did you feel like you were going to die in that moment? Like when she...
It was hard.
Yeah.
It was a trauma for her and I, for sure.
Can you imagine if that would have happened with number 1?
Right. I don't know.
It may have broke you.
Yeah. I mean, it's insane how different their childhoods are.
I know. And I've apologized to my older ones because I parented out of fear.
Yeah. And I still do. Tristan said something to me about using a wood splitter yesterday at this potential job that he might have. And I'm like, no, you're not. You're not going to go do that.
Yeah.
Get an axe. Like, be old school. Like, why are we using a machine that could potentially cut your arm off?
Take the whole thing off. Yeah.
Right.
Wow.
Like, he's like, no, Mom. You're not doing that. You're not going to make me lose a job because you're scared about something. And I'm like, okay, you're right. Let's breathe. Like, I'm literally in the car driving, trying to breathe. And he's just like, why are you like this? And I'm like, trauma. I don't know.
But that is so, the fact that he can recognize that in you.
Oh, yeah. We talk about it all the time.
And speak that to you, like, is huge. Because he's going to go through life recognizing that that quite often people react out of fear.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And he knows what that looks like.
Yeah, even if he doesn't know that that's what he's learning and doing, I know that he'll get there to that point for sure.
Yeah.
And it's hard. Healing is not a linear thing. It's a up and down thing. And I think 2012 was when I had my wake up call.
Really?
I mean, I had my first panic attack when I was young child, but that one in 2012 sent me to the hospital. I thought I was having a heart attack.
Wow.
I don't know how old I was. I think I was only like 23 years old, 24 years old. I don't know how old I am. So there's that. But
do you think it happened after Tristan, your anxiety?
When I was pregnant with him, it got worse, but I've had anxiety my whole life, no doubt. Yeah. I was always referred to as the worry wart.
Wow.
What about you? Were you anxious before kids?
I don't remember myself being anxious before kids. I think that I was so like stonewalled that I didn't let myself worry about anything. I was like, well, I'm just either going to fight it or run away from it. So, you know. But when I had Ava, I was terrified of the world. I vividly remember not being able to put her in a car seat or set her down because I felt like I was a horrible mother if I put her down.
Wow.
And it was so consuming. And it wasn't just in my mind. It was a physical, you are a horrible mother for putting your child down. She's going to remember this. You're going to screw your kid up. So I'm sure it's all of that trauma trigger stuff.
Oh, for sure.
Plus hormones.
That's a huge piece.
Nobody told me about postpartum anxiety. I only heard about postpartum depression.
I didn't hear about either after Tristan. And I definitely had it.
Yeah.
But do you know, too, it's also, I think, that not wanting our kids to feel the hurt and the pain that we may have felt.
Very much so.
So trying to protect them from that. And in trying to protect them from that, we teach them that they are not resilient. And that's not what we want at all.
Yeah.
We want to be able to push them through the fires of their lives so that they see they can come out on the other side.
Absolutely.
But that's hard.
It's very hard when you're trying to control everything.
Yeah.
And I go back to, like, that's where, you know, I've done a lot of apologizing to really all my kids. Like, if I overreact or something, or if I raise my voice, or if, you know, I am the first to say, like, I acted like a jerk. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Right? And even sometimes they're like, yeah, you were. Like, which is completely fine, but they love to get that
my kids
in,
say the
right?
same thing. Yeah. Thank you for that validation, Mom.
Yeah,
you
right.
were not nice.
But yeah, so with my younger ones, like you said, there's a definite transition into the younger ones, and that I'm giving them the space to make mistakes, knowing that they need to make mistakes, and know them to know, like, they always have a soft place to land here.
Oh, yeah.
But like, they got to go figure that out, right?
Right.
Because I can't jump in and fix their world so that my world is safe.
Right.
I got to let them do their thing.
Yeah.
And they're amazing humans, and they are advocates at heart.
Yeah.
Truly, like, to watch your children become an advocate for humanity, for the underdog, or for anybody, it's just amazing.
It really is.
Because they have the heart, but to watch that develop,
it's hard
you're
too.
just like,
yeah.
Oh, you know, like, our favorite song is Alicia Keys' "Girl on Fire."
Ooh, yeah. Love that one.
That is our battle song.
How many kids do you have?
8.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's a house full.
So, yeah, I mean, I say they are all of mine.
House full, heart full, I should say that.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
They're all mine. Lexi was the first child. Like, Lexi was a foster child. And because I was in foster care, like, I always knew I wanted to do foster care. And so she came to us when she was 5. And then a month later, I was pregnant with Ava. And then DJ came, and then the next 2, and then the next 2. So, you know, we very quickly, overnight almost, went from a household of 3. Yeah, it would have been 3 because Caleb wasn't around. 3 to 7, and then Caleb. So, yeah, we had to go buy, like, one of those big blue vans so that we could all ride together to church.
That's so great.
You didn't have to take 2 separate cars. Yeah.
And so to me, that's your heart.
Yeah.
That's the heart that I saw years ago, even in that, like, little sliver of a time period. Because it's just like a drop in the bucket.
Yeah.
But being able to really see people at their core it's so important and so valuable to me. And I think that's like, I don't know if we really started talking about this, but I kind of want to, is being able to see kids at their core and see that what's happening around them is not who they are.
No. They're reacting to
their environment. Yeah.
And they're trying to find their tribe.
Yeah. Yeah. They're trying to figure out who they are.
Yeah.
Wanting to feel accepted.
Well, yeah, that's survival, right?
Right. Mm-hmm. Wanting to feel loved.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So tell me now, I totally would love to hear this from you, is what made you, and I don't know what the process is, but what made you march down to that office and say, put my name on the list? I'm throwing my name in the ring.
Yeah. So I have to admit, I was not completely oblivious to what was going on. But I had someone reach out to me. It was after I responded to a post on What's Up Front Royal.
Oh, okay.
And because somebody was speaking ugly about another human, and that just sets fire through me. So yeah, I did my thing on What's Up Front Royal, and then I received a message from someone who said, "Hey, have you ever thought about running for school board?" And I was like, but the thing is, like, that's always been in my heart. So Derek and I have talked about it. I never thought that it was going to happen this soon.
Right.
But when she said that to me,
Ooh, that was a God whisper.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. So Derek and I told her, I said, I've got to pray about it. I've got to talk with Derek about it and the kids about it. And, I'll get back with you. And I knew in my gut what the answer was, but I needed to make sure that the rest of the family was on board.
Yeah.
Because I've never been in a campaign before. We only know that they can look very ugly. And
oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Which is what I hate, by the way.
Right,
because
so
really
stupid.
At the core of it, it's like, what's your purpose?
Right. Right.
Let me see your heart.
Yeah.
What do you want to do? Like, what's the hopeful outcome?
Right.
What are you bringing to the table? So you don't have to necessarily tell me what you were seeing, but I would love to know, like, what are you hopeful for?
What I'm hopeful for is that every child, every parent, and every teacher, and anybody that walks into a school in Warren County feels included, feels accepted, feels supported, feels safe, and that collectively we can make the world a better place.
Yeah.
Which sounds very lofty. But the children, if you think about it, like how many future world changers are in Warren County, like in those schools, in this moment. You think about the amazing people who started in public school, and because they had just one person stand beside them and champion them and say, like, you know what, nothing else matters, but in your heart, like, you are a good person and you are smart and you are worth it and you're gonna do big things.
Yeah.
So, like, that's my goal. And I know people say, Amber, like, you have big ideas. And I do. I have big
ideas become beautiful things, though. Not every idea is meant to come to pass, but
we started a ripple.
But we started something. Yeah. It's so true, though, how powerful the people in a child's upbringing can be. Mm-hmm. And, I think about this often as my kids bring friends over. How do I want them to feel when they're in my home?
Yeah.
And I don't need to make this big impact on every kid, but you never know what just seeing someone could do. One interaction. Yeah. Just one interaction. And I will tell you that I have many throughout my school career that left that kind of an imprint. Mm. And it's funny because as I reflect back on it, it created my entire, like, what I ended up doing as an adult.
Yeah.
I had an amazing counselor in elementary school who really, I loved being able to do that. And then now I sit and talk to people all the time. Mm-hmm. And then in high school, I had a phenomenal photography teacher who very much believed in me. Mm-hmm. And helped me even start my business, helped me get my first camera, really got that moving for me.
Yeah.
I mean, I still talk to her. So our teachers and that being in school with these people, that is such a huge part of growing up. Mm-hmm. And we do need that support.
Yes. And, today's world looks very different.
Very different, yeah.
Than even 5 years ago.
For sure.
Parents are struggling to put food on a table.
Yeah.
Struggling to make ends meet. And oftentimes, homework doesn't get done at night.
Yeah.
Not because mom and dad are laid up on a couch being, not worried about homework. It's because mom and dad are busting their tail to put food on the table.
Yeah.
And mom and dad or caretaker, because that's another thing. It's grandparents. Grandparents are raising children these days. And my grandparents helped raise me. So, families don't always, the nuclear family is bygone, right?
Yeah.
That's way gone.
I mean, it's just, the divorce rate is too high to be able to say that it's not.
Right.
Nothing against it. Nothing against it.
No.
It's just a fact of what's happening.
Yeah. No. And what I say is that anybody that can love a child and be there for them and help to mold them into an adult, go on with your bad self.
Right.
Do it. Right?
Yeah.
I don't care who you love. I don't care who you're married to. I don't care any of that. I care that your heart, soul, mind are devoted to the child and raising a good human being.
Yeah.
And that, you know how many children are waiting to be adopted just in Virginia alone?
I'm sure it's a very scary number.
Thousands. And I don't know the exact number right now, but yeah.
So basically what's happening is there's a lot of kids without even their basic needs being
Well,
met.
yes, that's what I was saying. It's like, you know, I think people get afraid when we say, like, let the school help.
Yeah.
And they're afraid because there have been times where our trust in the system has been lost for a very good reason.
Right.
We have to rebuild trust with our parents and our caregivers and our community.
Yeah.
And we have to find a way for everybody to come alongside one another and to work together to create a future for all of the children.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So, like, Mom, if you've got to work late, then let's give you some support.
Right.
And you know what? Here's somebody who's volunteering to help with your child's homework tonight.
Yeah.
Or you know what? Does your child need to be picked up from baseball practice because your child wants to go to baseball practice but can't because mom or dad are working hard?
Yeah.
So let's find somebody to help pick up.
Oh, it's that community is powerful. It's so important. And I think we lost, I don't want to say that because I don't want to make an assumption and I don't want to put something out there that's not true. But here's what I know is that we need a community of people. We need people to lean on. Yeah. And we haven't had that. In 2020 very much separated us from a lot of things. And I don't even know if it was there before that because I was definitely drowning before 2020. That's why it became a saving grace for me because we needed to hit pause. To be able to lean on other people is vital. And there has to be space created so that those connections can be made. I've heard so much of this in the last couple of days. So I really want to share this because relationships mean to relate to.
Yeah.
To relate to each other. That's how you build that connection. And kids really, more than anything, more than the grades, more than the accolades, more than anything, they need to know that they matter.
Yes.
And we have to show them that they matter. And if a kid is going to school and their basic needs aren't being met, and then they're getting hammered by their teacher because maybe their teacher has no idea what they're going through.
Right.
And then they're sitting at lunch and they don't really have a lunch. And it's like, this is the story of what happens. And so to me, it's like, that is common sense. We have to be able to get involved.
Yeah.
There has to be something that's done at that level so that kid can grow up and know that they matter.
Right. And can I say that I firmly believe that as scary as being vulnerable with one another is, that it is the very thing that begins a relationship.
Yeah.
So like if you say to somebody, look, I may look like I got my stuff together because I brushed my hair today and before I left the house, I don't. Like, I'm just a mom doing my very best like you.
Yeah.
I'm just a dad doing my very best like you. And just being able to kind of drop the facade so that people are able to see who we really are.
Right.
And then that builds trust. And that builds the community. Because my best girlfriends, we are all hot messes.
Right.
But I like messy people because I can trust them.
Yeah.
Because I know that I'm safe with them.
Yeah.
You know, you see people who you think have it all put together. I was one of those. Like, literally, do you know how many times people on my Facebook before I had my great awakening or my great breakdown, Amber, I don't know how you do it. I don't know how you and Derek do it.
Yeah.
And the entire time, like, not the entire time, but quite often, I'm like, I'm falling apart.
Right.
You know, I didn't have it all together, but I put a smile on my face and I made everybody think that I had it together. But if we can say to one another, like, look, and you don't have to spill your guts,
Right.
but you can just make yourself human.
Yeah.
And that's how I think you start building the community.
Yeah.
As you build trust.
Let yourself be human and then let other people also be human. Like, we have to have more room for humanness.
Yeah.
And we all make mistakes.
Yeah.
We all say things we shouldn't say. We do things we shouldn't do, whether it's to our spouse or to our kids or somebody in the... I said something the other night. It's kind of funny. This is so silly, but I am going to tell this because it's funny, but maybe not. I was standing in my client's house because I just finished taking pictures for her. And her husband tells me about this event that he's hosting. And I'm like, yeah, I'm not coming to that. And I'm like...
I said that out loud.
Why did I just say that? So, like, the next day, I'm like, please tell your husband that I am very sorry. She's like, girl, we saw you worked all day and then had a long drive ahead of you. Like, we get it. It's fine. She left room for my humanness.
Yes.
And I was very much in my humanness in that moment. And we have to give space for each other. Like, it's okay if you slip up and you were rude, but, like, go back and clean it up.
Right.
And even if you didn't realize, like, sometimes we don't realize that we were rude. But anyway, it's that giving grace that is really needed.
Yeah. My mother-in-law said that to me one time. Derek and I were spatting. And I'll never forget, she said, you know, when you give grace when least expected, those are the moments that it's most remembered. Mm-hmm. You know, when he's expecting me to be like, wow, you forgot, blah, blah, blah. When I'm like, you know, if I just say, like, it's all right, babe, we'll figure it out.
Yeah.
You know, that, like, it takes the wall down a little bit from his heart, too.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, we very much have those moments. And we have the opposite of those moments, too.
Yeah.
Where...
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. I had one this week. My poor husband.
Oh, I'm sure I had one this week. I'm trying to remember. Did we? No, this week might be a good week. We might be on an up week.
Nice. Nice. But here's the thing with Derek, too, is that he has his own healing journey.
Yes.
Because, you know, public service, fire department, state police.
Yeah. There's so much trauma in that.
Well, and you look at a police officer, you look at our military, you look at these guys, dads, whatever, and, well, they're not supposed to feel, right? Like, they're just doers. And then, you know, they find themselves in, like, oh, wow.
Yeah.
That it's the one small call that sets off the trigger of things. So, but my amazing husband is now teaching critical incident training. He teaches the critical incidents, CISM and CIT. And so he's walking along. He's about to become a peer-to-peer counselor.
Oh, I love that so much.
Because he had to do the hard work, too.
Yeah.
Like, we're all about some therapy in our house. I think everybody.
Same. And I have had a good number of law enforcement come through my door for life coaching and energy healing. And it's beautiful to me when that realization can be had that, that call where I saw what I saw really has stuck with me.
Absolutely.
And there's so much that I could say on that topic alone. Like, and even take away the job. Men need healing too.
As a human, yeah.
Men need healing too. It's not just the moms, but it's both. And making room for each of us.
And allowing yourself, a man, allowing himself to be emotionally vulnerable.
Yeah, it's really hard. I mean,
even my boys, but it's innately in them. Like, I watch them from just very, very little. It's something that I have had to teach them.
Yeah.
Like, let's take a second and think about what you're feeling.
Right.
Because, man, they just want to fight right off the bat.
Yeah, because you go back to that brain that we have that's 22, what is it, 2. I don't know. How many million years old is our brain? I forget.
I don't know.
Okay. It's many. We all agree it's many?
Yes.
Okay. And men were the hunters.
Hunters, yeah.
And women were the gatherers. So, like, I'm sure there was talk happening when they were gathering the berries, and here men are chasing after meat. So it's like, what happens on the playground now?
Right.
Girls play and boys are running around tackling each other.
Yes.
I mean, it is innate. So girls get more of that talk time at a very early age. Yeah. It becomes natural to work through things, not work through things, because God knows girls also struggle. Yeah, it's that chat. Yeah. And men don't, even as boys, that wasn't really the case.
No, but it's so healing.
Yeah. And to teach them and to be able to offer that. And I love that you want to do this on a grander scale. You know, it goes beyond just your four walls. Mm-hmm. And I feel that way so much too. I don't know what it looks like yet for me. Yeah. I don't think it'll be running for anything, but I would love to be able to offer support to teenagers, preteen teenagers. I really like that age group, and to be able to help them to know that they're okay. Like, it's going to be okay. Yeah. That's like the biggest thing. So I love that you are going out and doing something and finding a way to make this shift within your community. Mm-hmm. That really needs to happen.
Thank you.
So before I end this, I would love to hear, what is something, like I always ask, what's the big golden advice? Like, what's your big golden nugget that you might share with somebody?
Heal, and then save space for others to heal.
Ooh, that's good. I love it.
And then just love each other.
Yeah.
Then just love.
Can't we all just get along?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, just heal. And like, it's going to suck. Yeah. But you're going to get through it. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Do you feel like there's anything else you'd really love to say before I hit stop?
I just feel really grateful. Mm-hmm. Like, I didn't think that I heard this, like, you're a whole person. That's what it was. Mm. And I truly never, ever thought that I thought it was something that did not apply to me. Like, I never thought I'd be able to wrap my brain around it.
Being a whole person.
But I can sit here today and tell you I'm a whole person.
That's so great.
I am a whole person, and I am so thankful. And it has been pretty shitty at times. Can I say that?
Yes, you can.
It's been really hard. But my God, it's been so worth it. Yeah. It's so worth it. And you know what? So, like, I thought about, because I love to write. And so I was writing the other day, and I was thinking about the family tree. And I'm like, you know what? I am cutting that bitch down, and I am starting a new forest.
Oh.
Like, it is, I'm not even going to, like, take branches down. Like, it is gone. And from the small seedling, right, that I was on that tree. Yeah. Like, I'm starting a whole new forest.
Oh, that's so beautiful.
I know, it makes me want to cry.
I love it, though.
But that is just, that is why I am here on this earth.
I love that so much. And I want to say this. I want to first thank you for coming and sharing even some of the hardest things.
Yeah, thank you.
That you shared. And I told you, we don't get to where we are without these experiences that we've had to go through. Yeah. And a lot of times there is this view, especially in politics, that someone is, dare I use the word, tainted or not good enough because they haven't lived and walked this perfect path. Yeah. But that is just unrealistic.
Yeah.
And it's because of your path that you are here and able to do the work that you're now set out to do. And so thank you for sharing your story. Thank you. And I'm just going to wish you so much luck.
Thank you.
Because we need people who give a shit.
Yeah.
And I know your heart, and I know you give a shit.
I give a shit. I give a lot of shits. We're going to do it. Like, I know in my heart. God did not bring me to it to not bring me through it. And I say me because it's like, right, I'm running for the office, but it's not just me running for office. It's all of us because it's going to take all of us.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, yeah, we're going to do it.
Very good. I'm excited to watch.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. I hope you enjoyed that conversation. Let's go over the takeaways. Number 1, you have to realize that there is an enter. I talked about interdependence being the answer, and Amber spoke up and said you have to first realize that there is an enter. I actually lit up when she said that. We have to look inward and see that there is a need to care for self, to slow down and to stop running from the tiger, and to heal. Number 2, surrender. We talk about this a lot on this podcast, but your journey to get to that point will look a lot different than mine. It'll look different than Amber's or anyone else for that matter. How you get there is up to you. But what can you do to detach and let go just a little bit more? Number 3, are you making decisions from fight mode? This was really powerful. I don't know. I wish we could have dove into it even more. How we make decisions in survival mode and how that then affects our life. And you have to then take stock of what decisions you did make in that space. And what do you want different now that you're out of it? Number 4, triggers are here to ignite healing. I'll say that again. Triggers are here to ignite healing. What is triggering you? Note it. I talk about this in coaching sessions all the time. We have to pay attention to the triggers because they're either a mirror reflecting back to us something we don't like within ourselves, or they are reminding us of a time when we were hurt, and to look at them for what they are, which is a lesson, something to learn here, something to heal from. That is when you can grow. This is when you can truly grow. Number 5, the great awakening can really impact a relationship, but what's meant to be will stand the test. It will still be standing when the storm clears. In this part of the conversation, I really commended Amber because she shared something super vulnerable that a lot of people don't want to talk about, but I do think it's important because we're all in this life together, right? We're all doing life here. We're all trying our best. And you might look at someone and think that they have it all together when they don't. And it doesn't mean that they are total messes all the time, but I think we need to talk about this stuff just a little bit more. Number 6, this next takeaway, I want you to hear me loud and clear. I mean loud and clear, please. You matter. Your very existence matters. Do not believe for a single second that you don't. And I'm referring to the part where she was saying something about wanting to just run away, like it wouldn't even matter if she's here. And we all know that's not true. You do matter. And you are important. And those kids do need you. Find help and support. It can be life-changing to have someone to talk to. And I know that can be hard to find, but do not give up. All right, next. I think we're on number 7. When you do experience a heightened state of emotions, note where you feel it in your body, and then try to remember where you may have felt that previously. This is part of finding the root. This is just one part of it, but it is a big, crucial part. I want to ask this question, though. How can you contribute to your community? Is there somewhere where you can volunteer and step in and help a single mom or help a dad, whoever it may be that is really just struggling to keep things together? What is something that you could do today to help if you are able? And sometimes, you know what? That's just being one of those people that somebody can talk to. So holding space is pretty powerful. Now listen, we are all doing our very best. Don't judge a book by its cover. What may look perfect is not always true, and that's one thing that Amber also hit on. And so I don't want you to forget that. Now, after our recording session, she sent me this message because she heard something on the radio and it very much felt worthy of sharing. So she said she just heard a quote on the radio by Nelson Mandela. When he was asked about how he survived the years of imprisonment, his response was, "I did not just survive, I prepared." And she said, I think that is the greatest way that I have ever heard someone describe a healed mind and heart when referring to going through trauma and coming out on the other side. I didn't just survive, I prepared. Now, that is just so beautiful. I loved it. I wanted to share it with you too. And I hope that you got something super valuable out of this. And if you would like to follow Amber on social media, you can find her on Facebook at Amber Mabie for Warren County School Board. And thank you for being here. Please remember, as always, you are loved, you are valued, and you are appreciated. Bye now.